So here it is all laid out. We've just got back from 3 weeks in Thailand. We were visiting my eldest son who started teaching English in Bangkok earlier this year, and we got to see a bit of that stunning country. As you might expect, I sketched as we went along, and I want to show you the sketchbook, what I did, what I took with me, and what I learned as I went along. My name's Liz Chaderton. I'm a watercolour artist based in Berkshire, and every week I share a tip or trick that I wish I'd known about ages ago. I love to sketch as I travel, and I love to travel. I find that even the most basic sketch that's only taken a few minutes and is unfinished, it captures so much more of the journey than all the photos that you have on your camera. Before we take a closer look at that sketchbook, let me just give you an overview. So here it is all laid out. I love a concertina sketchbook. I always make them myself before I go and just plan how many days we're away for, how much I think I'll sketch. You know, it might be 2 pages per day, and therefore you can just get it to be about the right length, whereas commercial ones are never quite big enough or quite right. The other thing I like to do is always put a little pocket in, and of course if you're making them yourself, well, you can make a judgment about what sort of paper you want to use and how big and all those things as well. This is watercolour paper, so the great thing is that I can easily work on both sides without it seeping through, and this is the second side. So some are painted. This side I've done some more sort of monochromes. Some are scenery, some are things, some are impressions, and some have got little bits of collage too. So why don't we take a closer look? There are 2 things I regret on this particular sketchbook. I forgot to protect the cover. I used an old map to do the cover, and I should have waxed it or protected it in some way. It's got a bit tatty. The other thing is that little magic pocket where all those bits are, everything kept falling out. I think next time I'll get some of those little sticky Velcro bits just to put a closure on that pocket so I don't lose all my tickets and things. I love a concertina sketchbook. I just think it tells a story of your journey because it's all continuous, and you can work on 1 page across 2, even 3. You can join them together, you can do them separately, just really flexible. So this sketchbook, we started off in Bangkok, and actually we were just waiting for a boat which they said was going to be sort of 15-20 minutes, and I started drawing this pavilion and it was about 5 minutes. So yes, that was a very scrappy beginning. Quite often on my first page I actually just sketch my art materials just to get me into the feel of it, but on this occasion I didn't. So when I'm doing this sort of sketching, I usually do pen and wash, line and wash, and go straight in with a pen because I don't have time to use pencil and do everything very precisely. I'm travelling with my husband, and on this occasion I have my youngest son with us as well, and there's only so much patience they've got. We went to the Grand Palace, and if you have been to Bangkok, you will know how stunning that is. And I actually had some gold paint with me, I'll show you. This one was on a scorchingly hot day, and we went to Lumpini Park, which is a bit like Hyde Park in London or Central Park in New York, you know, big public park. But the wonderful thing they have, this is not a crocodile. They call them the Bangkok dragons. They are big monitor lizards that swim in the lake. I love the contrast between the high rise and the wonderful verdant trees. These rather bright little things are called lukchups, and they're made out of mung beans. They are stunningly beautiful to look at. Not that tasty, if I'm perfectly honest. They're a bit beany, all shaped like little fruits or vegetables. So beautiful. and really super shiny. Then this was at the train station, Thonburi train station in Bangkok. We were waiting for a train. We'd been a bit anxious, so we got there ridiculously early, and I just sketched while we did that. And this is the bridge over the River Kwai. We'd been to various museums and the cemeteries, and we were feeling pretty somber, to be honest, because it's really heartbreaking, the story of this bridge and the mistreatment of the POWs in the Second World War. But even worse, everyone remembers the POWs because of Hollywood and everything, but 100,000 Asian workers died. 16,000 POWs died, but 100,000 Asians died. And there is not one named grave. I kind of needed to cheer myself up, not cheer myself up because you don't want to forget, but to brighten myself up. And we went to a Chinese temple, so I used all the brightest colours, and that was lovely. This is a very stylised sort of view that we'd seen from the train. We travelled by plane, train and automobile. We were in the third class train, and these wonderful shaped mountains with, you know, palm trees and whatever, and rice fields. So just bits of tickets there. And actually, at the railway, we saw this old steam train, and I was really surprised because it had the sort of imperial Japanese flag on it. And I thought that was a bit like in Europe, seeing a flag with a swastika. I was very surprised. Turns out there was a festival, and they were doing a sort of reenactment, Son et Lumière, to across the bridge, and this train was starring. This was back in Bangkok, a wonderful little Chinese pagoda next to a really old fantastic tree, and I liked the sort of the mix of the colour and the black and white. Again, we were in Chinatown in Bangkok, this lovely mansion, and we went into a little museum, and they had stamps that meant various things like blessed and prosperity, double happiness. So I stamped those in here. Later on, we went down through the south of Thailand and stayed in this place called Prachuap Khiri Khan, and had this amazing temple on this outcrop. And it was beautiful at night because this was all dark, but the temple was lit up and it just looked like it was floating. And that's the first side of my sketchbook. But I made this sketchbook myself. If you want to see how I make these, I'll put a link to a concertina sketchbook. I did remember to put a good pocket in the back, and I have collected various bits and bobs. So that would certainly be a tip, is always have a pocket in your sketchbook. This was interesting. While we were in Bangkok, we came across the Elephant Parade, which is a global art thing. Various artists from various countries have painted these elephants, and they're touring the world and raising money to help real elephants. And the reason I got excited was I have actually applied to do something similar with Thames Hospice, which is our local hospice, and they are having elephants. It's called Trunks Across the Thames. So I have applied. Whether I will be accepted, I do not know. This book is made with watercolour paper, so nice 300 gram watercolour paper, so I could use the back side, and it didn't soak, colour didn't soak through. We went and saw these spectacle langurs, which were lovely. I did not do this from life. Just about everything else was from life or imagination, but I was too busy feeding these peanuts. So I did that from a photo afterwards. We managed to hit it lucky. This was in Prachuap Khiri Khan. There was the Festival of a Million Lights, and I just wanted to give the impression of all the lights that were on in the dark. Back at another train station, I just love the electric poles when you're travelling. God knows how they ever service them or know what's going on. and we were waiting for a train, so I sketched this while I was waiting. We went to a place called Ranong, and there are all these hot springs that you can either soak your feet in, you'll rest your weary feet, or you can go and bathe in them. And there was this lovely sort of Indiana Jones bridge. This is just a view from our hotel over Ranong. Again, lots more electric poles. And then we went further south, down to the coast by the seaside, just this place, Time Wang, 20 miles of beach, and there were a couple of fishermen and us. We deliberately chose it because we didn't want to go and do the big touristy thing. This is a sort of Thai beach resort as opposed to a foreigner beach resort. And the other reason we went there was there is a turtle rehabilitation place. Move that so you can see the whole thing. So it's run by the Thai Navy. They rescue injured turtles, they rescue the eggs, there's a hatchery, and then there's a big release of the baby turtles. That we saw green turtles and hawksbill turtles, and that was very special. The other reason we wanted to go to Time Wang is that it's very close to one of the national parks, and we hadn't been I wanted to see some waterfalls earlier in our trip, hadn't been able to go because my husband had hurt his back and he was in all sorts of pain. So we wanted to go to these waterfalls, and that was lovely, and you could swim in a pool down here, and there were little fish that came and nibbled you. Not piranhas. And then this is the last page, or last 3 pages, but I sort of did them together, and I stuck in a few of the bits that I'd collected en route. Obviously beer labels and a few little receipts of where I like the design. This was a menu from our favourite roti place, and I just loved all the street food. We did fill our bellies, so that was the finish. Let's look at the materials I took. So tips. My first tip is try and travel light. I did actually take a few spare pens and a few spare water brushes just because I was worried in case I lost them, but I didn't really need to take that much with me. So always do line and wash. I take my travel kit in this, which is a reusable banana bag that I just got at the supermarket. It's good because it can drain if anything's a bit wet. I took these Paul Rubens watercolour set. Oops, oh, I can't open them. So traditional watercolour set with this lovely brush, which I really like. That needs a good wash. And that was possibly a bit silly because I've managed to bend the end of it, so I'll need to sort that out. What I'll do is dip it in very hot water to sort of soften the bristles, reshape it and let it dry, and we should sort that out. I didn't have a travel brush, and the trouble is it bangs the end as it goes. For example, I used this on the River Kwai picture because I could mix more sombre colours. The other thing I took were these Viviva colour sheets. These are dye-based watercolours, and they are very vibrant. So any of those Chinese temple sketches were done with these. Great for Asia, but if you were travelling somewhere, I don't know, Iceland, to go and see the Northern Lights, these would not be the colours for you. I like them, they're really well designed. So that's like a little mixing palette that you can just fold out. They've got these sheets between so they don't stick. I took these, which are metallic ones, for the very simple reason that I have been to Thailand before and I know there's a lot of gold. It wasn't necessary, but that's only, I don't know, 30 grams or something, so I did use some gold. You know, the most important thing is a bit of kitchen towel. There you go. I think that's rather beautiful, actually. That lasted me 3 weeks, and just to clean off my water brush, because that's what I take. Water brushes, got water in the barrel. Do remember to empty that before you go through security. don't know why I took that one. It's far too big. A tiny bit of magic eraser in case I needed to correct anything. I did not use it. I took a pair of scissors. Do go careful. Do not take this in your hand luggage. They will get confiscated. Because I took the scissors because I thought I might want to do some collage and things like that. Now, I didn't actually collage. I just stuck a few things in. So I also took a glue stick. I took a little spray bottle, which I ended up, you know, when I was painting with these with a proper brush, I used that as a little water bottle. So that got used. Clip, because otherwise I will drop my concertina book and it will go everywhere. And then pens wise, say no pencil, no eraser. I took waterproof fine liners, which are great. I looked at the size of sketchbook I was taking to make, and I didn't take them too thick. So these are 0.2s, and I think that's a 0.3. If it would have been a bigger sketchbook, I'd have taken a thicker pen. Small sketchbook, smaller pen. I like to take a bit of backup, which is why there are 3. I also took these Stabilo 88s, and these are not waterproof, but what I like about them is you can put the line down and then add a little water and move them round. Monkey picture I did with those. So just with that pen, moved it around to put in the tone. So you can see the difference. This is the waterproof pen. And this is the Stabilo 88. If I put water over this, you can see nothing moves. But if I put water here, can you see a little bit of that ink moves? You can still see the line, but a little bit moves. And what I really like to do is get a non-absorbent surface, scribble on it, and then you can pick the ink up and actually paint with the ink as well. So literally one pen, one water brush, and you can do a monochrome line and wash really easily and quickly. The question might be, is there anything that I regretted not taking there? I really don't think there is. Everything else got used and I didn't feel that I was missing anything, which is really nice because you're in the middle of nowhere. There's not going to be an art shop for you to be able to go and buy a new pen or things like that. I don't take a fountain pen just because with flying you're never quite sure whether things are going to cope with the pressure or whatever, and also with rules about liquids on planes, you don't want to get involved in any of that. Do need to think about scissors in hand luggage, liquid in hand luggage, and just make sure you don't run foul of anything. Dried watercolours, no problem. This is what I take for just holiday sketching. Of course, if you were going on a full painting holiday, you would take different things. I love my holiday sketchbooks. I look back at them way more than I look at photos, because even the most basic, and that really wasn't a great start to my sketching, but even the most basic, hurried, unfinished sketch captures a moment. I remember how hot it was. We'd slightly fallen from one of those scams of, you know, come and see my uncle's suit business type thing. And then after that, we'd gone down to catch a boat to go for a whiz round Bangkok. And I can remember everything about it just by looking at that really scrappy sketch. You know, this one, very quick. Yeah, how do you capture the Grand Palace in Bangkok? Gosh, if you wanted to do it in detail, you'd be there all day. It was too blooming hot. But I had a lovely conversation with one of the palace guards afterwards who wanted to see what I was doing. And, oh, could he take a photo? And then could he have a selfie with me? And he was from Krabi. And we had a lovely sort of conversation, which if I hadn't been sketching, we wouldn't have had. So sketching while you're on holiday connects you with people. It really cements your memories. It just makes you be in the moment. You look properly, you see more, and it's a wonderful way of being present.